there, it's Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today I have an exciting, fun project because this is something that I have not really done before, and I don't know why. We are going to be using some rub-ons today to create these beautiful fabric pieces, and I pretty much was using up what I have, using up scraps. We have to use the things that we decide to purchase and invest in, and for me, that means I have a little stash of rub-ons. I really love the company 45 and Market for their rub-ons. Now, just to clarify, I am not sponsored by them. I don't get paid by them. I have never spoken to them ever. I don't know who owns the company. I purchase all of mine. I don't get sent any product for free. And so, just to be clear, I just absolutely love their designs. And so I have a little stash. At this point, it is looking a little bit scrappy, but I definitely keep them. I'm going to be using some calico fabric here. Now this is 100% cotton, so just unbleached, undyed, 100% cotton. It's pretty cheap actually in New Zealand, pretty cheap and cheerful, and so it is readily available, and the kids and I do lots of art projects with these, and it's really good to practice sewing and all those sorts of things. So I have some hanging around, and I am going to create some of these gorgeous little pieces, and then I'll show you how I turn these into cards as well. But these can go on all sorts of projects. Now, just to show you some options. Now, these are purely options. Of course, you don't have to do these things. I am taking some Distress Oxide ink and doing some stamping with a little stamp set. These are postage marks. The stamp set is called Mini Postmarks from Woodware, and I have no idea if it's still available, but truly I just found out some little, like some little textural elements that I can stamp in the background. I used a couple of different colors. I do know that if you put this through the wash, then it's probably going to wash off. It's not permanent at all. You could use any inks that you want to do this, and you could definitely use more permanent inks. I am just using anything to create a little bit of texture in the background and some text and things. This is the faded type stamp from Holtz. And as I said, they are not going to be permanent, but I'm not going to put these cards through the washing machine. They're going to be just fine. Most of these elements are going to go in a place where water is not going to see them, and that's okay. So I was happy with using these inks, absolutely fine. But you can stamp on this gorgeous fabric as well. Now, this is the point where you go through and you find all the rub-ons that you have. If you have some of these hero arts, this is like a whole lot of different text, then this is going to be perfect. Why not add some background noise using that? But then I have some 49 in Market. Now, I just have a mixture. I couldn't say that these are for sure in the right packet or packaging, because I do just keep them all in one packet altogether. So don't go on the labels there. I have linked several different packages down below. They're a really good price point. These are relatively old now. I think both of these might actually be discontinued, but as you can see, the rub-ons are still working perfectly well, so that bodes well. I'm going to take a little bit of this text background here, and I just play. This is honestly just a happy playing session. There are no rules. There are no things that you must do or must not do. Have a play around with what you've got, and have a play around with what fabric you have. You don't have to use background rub-ons. You might have stamps that you can text that you could stamp on there as well. But I have these, and I may as well use a little bit of them up. I'm going to put sort of a half one on here, and it does leave the fabric nice and flexible. Now, I do like to add a good splash of colour, and that's kind of what the rub-ons add. And of course, in several of these packages, there are like little rub-on sequins. There are little stitched elements that are rub-ons. All of them are rub-ons, of course, but there are things other than florals and butterflies and birds and bugs and all those good things. And so you can add on those little elements too. So just another way to be able to create some little sort of mixed media elements that you might like to put on your card. Now, I quite like some of the little fibers and threads pulled out of the edges there, and so I kind of like it in a specific way though. I don't like it to be too messy. I just like a few coming out either which way. Now, when you put the rub-ons on, it does tend to seal the edges a little bit, and so yeah, you have to kind of really pick away at them once you've put rub-ons, but usually I don't put them right to the edge, and you can still by all means pick away at them. Now for this one, I decided to do a little set of 3, and sometimes I feel like the less I plan things, the better they work out. And so I had these little butterflies. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put on some of those little sequins. I think that big, beautiful, bold, orange-looking foliage situational plant would be gorgeous for a big one of these, so that might be on my list as well. But yeah, I just peel these off and then I just rub them like I would any other rub-on. I do nothing different, as if I was putting these on paper, and they came out gorgeous. Now, you did see a handful of these at the beginning of the video. I really sat down and had a good session at just having fun and making lots of different kinds. Now, as I said, I have a little bit of a rub-on stash. I love those rub-ons, and so I think it's good for me to use them up to find a way, and I quite like having a little stash of pre-made focal points that I can pop on cards, because sometimes I'm just in the mood to create a background. Sometimes I'm just in the mood to create focal points. Sometimes I do from start to finish, and whatever I do is okay, because it's just some really nice, enjoyable time card making. And so for this one, I decided to add a little bit of stamping. Now, I only have the numbers 985, and that's just a random stamp that is actually stuck to my little mint tape tape holder, but I use it over and over again. And if you just blank out 1 or 2 of the numbers, then you can make it look like 855 or 988 or 985 or 589. You can change it around so it doesn't look identical, but actually it's just one tiny little stamp. Then I'm going to add a couple more postage marks to these ones, just here and there, and it does make them look all very cohesive, especially if you are wanting to put them on the same card together. Now I'm going to show you 2 really quick cards I created with these, because as I said, I made a whole lot of these, a whole lot of focal points, and I absolutely loved it. But I did want to show you a couple of examples. Now, when it comes to choosing the size of these squares, I am not afraid to cut these down even more. I am more than happy to keep trimming these down, and it doesn't feel wasteful to me because I don't know how much I'm going to need to begin with, and also plans change along the way. So for me, I don't feel like I can't cut down a rectangle piece once I've already cut it, and so I have no rules, which is really, really nice. Now this one here was very big, but you can see, yeah, it came off really nicely. And as I said, these are old. Most of them are discontinued, but I have linked some beautiful options down below, and it was terrible for me to go and link these because then I go and see what is all available, and it makes me want to grab just a couple more packets. But anyhow, once I have finished doing all of these, I pull out some of those fibers from the side. You don't have to do that, definitely optional. Now, I thought I was almost done showing you here, but actually I had a little pink butterfly that kind of matched the pink in this flower, and then I thought I might like to use that. And so I wasn't sure what I was doing for the actual cards yet, and it was really hard to stop doing this. I was really enjoying the process. So actually, I'm going to quickly put together a gorgeous little butterfly as well, and then we are going to get into some easy, gorgeous cards to create using this. Now, I did end up using some of the little sequins that come in the packs as well, and so I just pop those on. They're exactly the same, they're just rub-ons, and they add in those extra little, decorative elements just for a little bit of interest in the background. Then I will cut this one down just a little bit, doesn't matter if it's square. I haven't tried running calico fabric through my die cutting machine. I don't know if that would work. I think not, but has anybody tried it? Let me know in the description box down below. Has anybody tried running this fabric through their die cutting machine? Okay, so here is that few that we have just made right now. Now let's get to making some cards. Now I have got some vanilla malt cardstock here. I have a little panel of the vanilla malt cut down as well. And then I have a couple of doilies. Now these are from the Cheap and Cheerful shop, and I'm actually just using a glue stick to adhere these. Now I could wrap them around the back, but actually I'm just going to slice them off nice and even with the edge. I'm going to do 2 of these and just trim off any of those little bits, from when they were being produced through production. They, don't quite cut evenly, but I make them all nice and neat and even, and then put 2 on here. Now this is just pure background detail. I know that you can't see it super well, but it's there. It's definitely there. Then I have these 3 little orange butterflies, and they sort of all coordinate. Now, I could have put these on a little background piece. That would have looked nice too, like individually framed each one, but I'm keeping it pretty simple. I'm using some art glitter glue to glue these down, and that seems to work very, very well. I quite like not going close to the edges. I quite like that just a little bit of lift at the edge of the fabric. Not too much, because I don't want people to think, that you pull it or move it, but just a tiny bit. So I tend not to put the glue right to the very edges. Now, I was having a look through my stash to see what I could find to set off these gorgeous bright orange butterflies, and I came across a piece of this cardstock. This is the Gina K Sweet Mango cardstock, and it is it's very, very bright, and that is going to be perfect for a little matting layer. Of course, you could just use some ink around the edges if you wanted to have a matting layer like that. But I'm going to do it the more traditional way and go with an extra piece of cardstock, and that's okay too. We can break all the rules in one day. And then once I have glued that down, as I said, I'm going to put it onto the vanilla malt card base. So just has some nice layering layers. If you wanted to, you could use some rectangle dies to create a bit more interest going on there. These are some plain and simple cards that were very quick for me to put together. I had spent a lot of my time putting a lot of these together because I was just really enjoying myself, but I do want to give you a couple of ideas as well. Now, this one here I'm going to start with the grass green color from Gina K, and this one I have a whole lot of these greeny greens rub-ons, and I want to use some of these up because there's a whole lot of leafy ones, and as I said, this was about using up all my little pieces. So I had all these leaves that I thought would make kind of a nice wee background, a little bit of instead of stamping some background text or some background leaves, I thought I would just use some rub-ons, and so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cut out a whole lot of these. And then at this point, I had a little helper come along. It is school holidays at the moment, so my kids are usually beside me and helping me out with my crafting. And often they like to do it just over to the side. My son is going to join me today. They also like to sit on my knee and absolutely get right in there. So it was a little bit hard for him to remember to keep his head away from the camera. And it is a little bit funny crafting like this because the camera is directly down above us, and so you do have to really sit back, and that can be really hard when you are lining things up or trying to see exactly where you put them, but I'm very much used to that by now. But for him, this was a whole, he does do it with me, but he doesn't have to think about the camera, and that's okay, neither should he. But anyhow, he was having a great time helping me put these on, and I really love it when they craft with me. My kids really enjoy crafting. They do a lot of card making, and they absolutely love it. They may not love it forever, and I'm okay with that too, but whilst they do love it, I absolutely encourage it, and I don't mind them getting into my supplies. They absolutely have their own supplies too, but I think it's really fun that they use the things that they see me using as well. He was going back and forward between helping me out with my project, and then he had his own little card going beside me and was using rub-ons for his card, but he just really loves the part where you rub them on and then you get to peel it off and see the magic. So he was, running between my project and his project, trying not to miss out on any of the above. Okay, but also the reason why I'm telling you all of this is it's a funny story. Long story short, we got really carried away in creating this gorgeous, beautiful, leafy background, and that I didn't think about, actually, I want this piece to go here. And that is going to cover up most of the leaves we've done. I didn't tell him that part though. I was grateful for his help, and I did just shift off some of the leaves to further to the side so that we were still able to see some of them. I'm also going to put a little bit of silver twine around here just as a little bit of background added detail, and then this piece is going to go over top. Now I kind of used this one because I thought this greenery sort of foliage, there's no great bright big flowers in here, but I still really love this piece, and it's good to remember that actually it doesn't have to be big and floral and bright, and I absolutely love this. So I love the greens here. I'm going to back this with a little black matting layer, and I did use some of the text, and they have all these sort of worn worn look text and splatters and things in amongst their rub-ons, and so I added all of those onto this one too, and I really like the look of it. Again, super simple and just something a little bit different to create. Now I have these sentiment stickers here. This is an old Tim Holtz pack. I think these are still available. I looked them up the other day. I've had these for years. Now don't get me wrong, they stick beautifully, they are lovely, and I'm going to make an effort to use them up. So I've been using them in some cards recently as well. Now I will quickly pop a little sentiment on this one too, and then that is going to be the cards done and dusted. I just wanted to show you a couple of ways that you could use these gorgeous little fabric creations here. Now these would look stunning on tags. I think you could do Christmas versions of these. I think you could do Easter versions. Here's another card that I created, which is a bit, it's got a bit of burlap ribbon. It's got some little ephemera elements pop on there. It's got a little bit of book text in behind the fabric. Yeah, just had a whole lot of fun. It's got those same leaf rub-ons there behind it, except for it's on a white card base. I hope you set too, and if you have some rub-ons and some calico or some plain fabric spare, then give it a go and let me know how you get on. But thank you for being here. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this long video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, bye.